Maintaining momentum is always a challenge for transition year coordinators and transition year teachers at different times of the year. Among the synonyms for momentum include energy, strength, force, drive, power, and so on. When we speak about maintaining momentum, we refer to the ways in which we inject energy and drive into the year to maintain the eagerness of our students to learn through the various activities we plan and provide for them, either in their individual subjects or outside of the normal classroom scenarios. Momentum is also mentioned in the Return to School Transition Year 2020-2021 document when focusing on the core subjects. It states, the academic momentum of pupils should be maintained and indeed increased to provide a suitable bridge between the junior and leaving certificate. In our previous TY webinars broadcast in September and now available on the PDST website entitled the TY Picnic 2020-2021, we focused on the importance of assessing whatever gaps exists in students' knowledge and learning as a result of being away from the physical classroom since March 2020. This gap may still be evident, and formative and summative assessment techniques assist in this discovery. And of course, we are all still encouraged to make good use of our time with the students in order to bridge this gap. This feedback and dialogue could lead to students setting out a plan for their progression in the core subjects, and recognizing their progress at regular intervals would be beneficial to maintaining momentum. For example, a maths student identifies that they cannot do a whole lot of things in algebra, and as they progress through the study of maths, they reflect on their progress in light of this list. Transition year subject planning emphasizes always the importance of active teaching and learning methodologies and strategies, and when introduced can add momentum to any class. A variety of assessments also is mentioned as being important. PDST resources available to teachers regarding how to effectively do, for example, project work, or role play, or oral presentation, or any online program, as the one highlighted here, may assist with the maintaining of momentum. Of course, the PDST Active Learning Methodology booklet and the Integrated Approach to Teaching, Learning, Teaching and Assessment Post-Primary resource assists in maintaining or adding momentum in many classroom scenarios. More specific subject assistance is to be found in other documents. For example, this one for the Irish language, programs such as Show Scala from Conradh na Gaeilge, available free of charge and online during lockdown, may offer an opportunity to raise the profile of Irish in the school while maintaining momentum in the Irish language classroom. For all subject teachers, SpellNet has a great pool of resources suitable for transition year. For example, in a search in SpellNet for transition year resources, there were over 550 to be found. Again, this knowledge and resource may assist in maintaining momentum through the various strands of transition year. In the second layer, the Leaving Cert subject sampling layer, students are afforded an opportunity to sample the Leaving Cert subjects available in the school. There is an opportunity to inject momentum here also, as various school departments usually provide an insight into their subject area in order for students to make a more informed choice. The importance of this layer has been mentioned in Department of Education and Science inspection reports, where one inspector reported that students indicated in the course of their evaluation that they were better prepared to make an informed choice for Leaving Certificate following subject sampling in TY. Where it has not been possible to have all the various subject areas represented in the TY timetable, an opportunity should be afforded that allows students to sample those subjects in some manner. It could be suggested to students to keep a journal of all the subjects the school has to offer in senior cycle, and as they sample the various options, to record the new knowledge they acquired about the subject. For example, what subjects are suitable for what different careers? What were their thoughts and the questions about the various subjects? Notes on discussions with the career guidance teacher or with subject teachers. In a blended learning scenario, great use can be made of careerportal.ie, where subjects for Leaving Cert are well explained. This could be used as a useful project in schools where a one-day-a-week work experience model is being used. Indeed, this project could be central to a broader career investigation project. The third layer involves the TY modules, or subject layers. Many schools have the ability to host short modules, either half a year or a third of a year. And of course, each time there is a modular switchover, there is energy injected into the year. In schools with small numbers or with timetable restrictions, then perhaps various modules may be delivered by the same teacher at different times of the year. Of course, this takes pre-planning and requires tapping into the knowledge, experience, and interests of the teachers who are delivering. External guest speakers, when planned well, with discussions before, during, and after the event, creates great momentum. If individual teachers could organise one guest speaker, virtual or visiting, at some stage of the year, again, this would add and maintain momentum. When TY teachers wish to design a transition unit, their attention should be brought to the guidelines on the NCCA website. All teachers' attention should be drawn also to the list of transition units already designed for them in order for them to tweak or implement it on the transition year program. The fourth layer is the layer in which the once-off events occur, work experience being an example of this. And of course, this layer has been the greatest challenge this year, and yet schools have continued to be inventive and creative in overcoming these obstacles. Advice would be to attempt and try at least one of these once-off events each term, perhaps using some of the suggestions you hear this evening or from the TY coordinators in the breakout rooms. As these events are so dependent on the settings and resources of individual schools, it's difficult to suggest specific events. Many schools are attempting and successfully producing virtual dramas, virtual musicals, virtual shows. Arts Week could be a good project as an in-house or even a blended learning scenario where students set up competitions in relation to the arts and publish their best entries in print or on the school website. Other weeks can be selected. Wellness Week or Wellbeing Week. A project that could be attempted here is Independent Living or Home Management Week, where there's a focus on skills students need in the future in order for them to live independently, in college perhaps, or even for them to help out and appreciate the home. Learning how to iron, how to change a plug, how to prepare a meal, interview parents, how they feel about home management. The list is endless and can be compiled listening to the student voice on what they would like to be able to do also. This is just a rough draft or a guide that may be of some assistance. The remainder of the school year we have divided into 4 terms. Term 1 from here to Christmas, which is 4 weeks. Here are a few suggestions. Give the term a theme. In this case, we've selected giving or keeping positive. Christmas was always a busy time for transition year students, and this can also be maintained, but perhaps with much more caution. Craft fairs and charity work can be held virtually or online. Carol singing can be used as a cross-curricular theme as they record their carols in different languages. Involve students in creating advent calendars, creating annual calendars using a variety of skills, different languages, history, computers, photography, etc. Why not publish a special newsletter celebrating how much you have achieved as a school community and acknowledging the uniqueness of your experience. Term 2 is over 5 weeks and perhaps again to focus on a cross-curricular theme, allowing students to suggest a theme that they would like to explore. Involve the outside world in the project. Record it, photograph it, video the work. Create a link with other schools in the locality, in the county, in the country, or abroad, and see how they interpret the theme that you have selected. Create pen pals in the various languages. Share projects in other areas. Involve students in the open nights, which occur at this time and which will probably be virtual. Perhaps they could produce small videos where they celebrate certain aspects of the school community. In-house public speaking competitions are also a possibility. Term 3 is between midterm and Easter, and there's 5 weeks, and selecting a theme may keep a certain momentum going. Focusing on local crafts, perhaps, and inviting a crafts person or an artist in to speak with the students, or have it virtually, and share one skill would be very helpful. Focusing on cross-curricular themes of Buying Irish, which will be very important in the coming year, and Irish crafts may be adapted to suit all regions. Here, the Home Management Skills Week mentioned earlier would be suitable. Term 4 is the longest term with 8 weeks, and this will require a lot of planning to maintain momentum. The second half of the term will involve a lot of work regarding bringing all the work throughout transition year together and reflecting on what was achieved and where opportunities were lost. Emphasis here should be on presentations, on evaluations, and on reflections. Students should be assessed, interviewed if possible, giving them an opportunity to showcase their achievements during the year. It is the term to focus on preparing for next year, as they focus perhaps on study skills. If it is possible for work experience to go ahead in accordance with current health and safety guidelines, then this would be a good term. Of course, the longer evenings and the hopefully better weather conditions will lend opportunities to undertake projects outside, like gardening or other outdoor activities. If an outdoor event can be held to fulfill the requirements of Gaishke, this would add momentum. Organising European Week on the 1st or 2nd week of May, coinciding with European Day, affords the opportunity to create a cross-curricular theme, and with clear outcomes can provide a source of momentum for students at this stage of the year.
So there's ideas for projects for transition year students during the pandemic, but I might add these are just add-on projects to what is already, I'm sure, there's a lot of very good projects within the schools, and these are just a few ideas that can be added into that. So, possible categories for consideration, we're looking at enterprise, science, social and community, statistics, history, the economy, and digital literacy. So if we look at enterprise, first of all, and just these are a few extra ideas for enterprise projects. I've put a couple up here, making face masks, so designing them, putting them together, producing them, selling them, maybe raising money from charity as a result of selling them, etc. The idea of a Christmas ornaments marking the whole idea of the pandemic, that could be through the woodwork department, it could be through even different things through the science or home economics department, but again it's just kind of to mark the era we're in, to supplement other projects that are going on. So if we look at science, at the moment with the viruses, the coronavirus that's there, the clinical presentation of it, how it's made up, what forms a virus, how can it happen, and the preventative measures. And obviously preventative measures is one thing, but it's another thing doing it properly. That leads us into the whole idea of chemical engineering and the whole idea of creating vaccines and that whole medtech industry, and indeed maybe looking at careers in that area and how vaccines are put together and how they work to prevent viruses. So there's a lot of projects there, and again these are just supplementing, I'm sure, existing things that are going on in science class or those areas, but and can be channeled through different competitions that are going on, be it through a virtual setup or through colleges or whatever. So the whole idea of social well-being and community perspective during the pandemic, again, it's a change of lifestyle for young people, and it's a good idea to reflect on that and to reflect on the changes and what are the positives that can be taken out of it as regards maybe changes can be made in life anyway. What are the hard pieces and how do they cope with it? So that's through maybe discussion, but also can be through keeping diaries or creative writing, and reflecting, or maybe even more at a more deeper level, writing poetry during English class, etc. Just trying to come to terms with where we're at. The whole idea of helping the community is very important too, and it's something that we can look at, maybe making contact with old people, maybe through old people's home or people that are isolated in the community, and trying to figure out ways that we can write to them or make contact and maybe get feedback from them about how they're getting on, etc., and how we can help them. But also maybe it's an idea in our local area to look at the area we have. Is there a park we can do up in our local town, or can we make a bench for it, or can we put fencing around it? Like, there's lots of things can be done, doing up gardens around the town if that's possible. So try and research what's there, maybe work with the tidy towns, but a green area maybe around the school, but it gets out the fresh air, to work in teams, and it's just a new venture. So the whole idea of the statistical analysis of the pandemic is something that's ongoing all the time. The curve, how it's flattened, how different forms of lockdown help to change the pattern of the curve of the virus, and I suppose it's the knock-on effects to do with analysis or analysing the data associated with proposed vaccines. Again, it's something that's new at the moment, and again we're into things like what was the sample size, what was the group that was used, what sector, was it old people, young people, was it what socioeconomic group, how big was the sample, when was it done. All these things affect the whole outcomes and their proposed successes. And I suppose also the chemical makeup of the vaccine, again looking at history of vaccines and the chemical makeup, what has been the positives and negatives of it. So that's all the statistics that has to be gathered. And then the whole idea of the synopsis of the various statistical methods. What tools are you using? From the very simple base of median, mode, or mean, which is the most accurate? Is there an outlier? Then mean may not be possible. Median might be more accurate if it's more clustered. And then you're into more statistical, shall we say, advanced statistical tools. What's the best to use? But again, these are projects that can be analysed through looking at graphs and the changes in graphs and different types of graphs. So there's a lot of different angles can be taken in statistics at the moment, and it's a great learning curve for students. So ideas for a history class during the pandemic. Again, history has told us about viruses and their form they take, but really, in order to manage this pandemic, we've learned from previous pandemics, and things like hand washing, things like social distancing, was all things that worked in the past. And the simple example of people working, housemates working in different houses in New York to do the typhoid and so on, and discovered that one person was moving from 5 or 6 houses, they all got infected, etc. So it's simple things like that, and learning from the statistics that are out there of pandemics and the experience they had and how they coped with it. But the other side of history as well is, because we're confined to our local area, maybe we should look more at local history, the infrastructure of our local town, why things are located where they're located. Were we beside a railway line? Was it that we were very remote and we had to build certain infrastructure, roads or different types of amenities in order to bring us up to standard? But the thing about it is that it's the local history, the local demographics, why things are there, maybe even how certain social clubs developed and why there's an importance placed on certain things in the area that wouldn't be in other areas. And I suppose the opportunity is that it's on our doorstep, and a lot can be learned even from local people. A lot can be learned from just analysing it. And again, you can actually tie that into even environmental science or geography. So we're not confined to these subjects that I'm talking about. These are specific topics, but it can be related to a lot of different subjects. So the economic sustainability. Well, at the moment we're talking about the implications for fiscal policy and monetary policy, in that people are encouraged to spend, with borrowing from the central bank, etc. Or the European Central Bank. I suppose the whole idea is that the whole idea of the liquidity ratio in banks isn't affected, but who knows in the future what's going to happen. And then the whole idea at the moment with the implications of Brexit and how that's going to affect our economy, given that we're very dependent on it. What can we do? What measures can we take? How can we prepare for it in the short term and long term? And these are all things that are associated with projects in the past, maybe run by the central bank here about quantitative easing and so on. And so it'd be good to make contact with institutions like that to see if there are any competitions coming up, or is there any advice they would give us as regards projects that can be done in schools, etc. And I suppose overall then, the implications for enterprise. How long can they hold out? How long can a business hold out as regards being shut down, as regards laying off staff, as regards keep paying overheads? How far can it be stretched? At what point do they go under? And it's keeping that alive, and what can be done to keep alive, and how the government is supporting keeping that alive as far as they can, and can they sustain that? And that's the whole idea of it's a great education as regards how economics works, and how economic growth can be sustained. And again, as I say, these can be fed into existing projects. It can be a project in school, or it can be working with outside agencies. So digital literacy and creativity is something that can be used across a lot of subjects, from the point of view that you can make a documentary to do with history, or it could be a film that could be acted out as regards the pandemic, what's going on for certain people in it. So you have a lot of skills then developed between a theme, between writing, imagery, mood, but also very important teamwork, delegating jobs. But at the end of the day too, it's looking at the technologies within the school. What laptops do we have? What iPads do we have? What software can be downloaded? How can it be worked? And so it's all idea then of bringing all that together, having plenty of communication among staff members that are teaching transition, or even teachers that are not, to keep them in the loop, what's going on. And we've mentioned a lot of different projects here, but it might be an idea to maybe concentrate on 2 or 3 rather than all, given your skill sets of your staff, given the resources in the school, and with this interdisciplinary approach is between writing reports, or whether it's science, or whether it's technology, or whether it's business. All of these can fit into each other as regards doing different elements of a project, and it's making that decision what is viable and what would work for the school. So that's all about communication between the coordinator and teachers and management, and working together.